Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the 6570 Family Project Podcast, where we are putting aside those power struggles and really finding the path to lead our young women toward confidence, respect, and wisdom and prepare them for the great big world out there. And today we're going to be talking about how we can ourselves and help our daughters and our any children that we have bring our mess into the light, normalize mess, and be able to start unraveling it in order to get those knots out. So, if you have not yet, I really encourage you to look up Man in the Arena. It is a poem or speech that Theodore Roosevelt gave, and it is so good. Brene Brown, love Brene Brown. And she really talks about this in some of her talks. And this is something that really struck me because when we are in life, it often feels like a fight or a challenge, at least, that we are getting through every single day. Even if it's a great day, you still got through that day with triumph. And on our hardest days, we get through that day with triumph. And so, Man in the Arena is such a powerful statement that can be put together. Highly encourage you to look it up. Just Google it, you will find it. Man in the Arena, Theodore Roosevelt. I have it in my house. And it really reminds us of who's in the arena, who we can listen to get actual good guidance, and who we should not listen to get guidance. And three of those seats that are often taken up in our arena are scarcity, shame, and comparison. Those are the ones we do not want to listen to. But if we don't invite them in, they're going to find a way in no matter what. And they're going to lurk in the corners. They're going to sneak up on us when we least expect it. They are going to surprise us, and it is not going to be good. So, kind of like inviting the enemies in, right? We want to invite them in, show them to their seats, and be able to shine a light on them, so we always know where they are, we always know what they're going to say, and we can always just be able to let them be for what they are and then walk away and be in our arena. Does that make sense? Know your enemies, right? Okay, so let's dive into these a little bit. It is comparison, shame, and scarcity. And Brene Brown has a TED talk that she talked a little bit about, a lot of it about the Man in the Arena and some of these seats. And we're going to dive into it in the context of what we do in the 6570 Family Project. So let's talk about comparison. Comparison is going to show up as stories that we tell ourselves in our head that either glorify us and put someone else down, or the opposite, right? It is going to really put us down and glorify someone else. And these are often worst case scenarios for one, best case scenarios for another, which means it's not really true. The truth lies somewhere in the middle there. And it's this comparison trap that we get in of, I will never be as smart as that other person. I will never be a good enough parent. I will never, right? The always nevers. I am always too tired for this. I can never do that move in soccer like my teammate can. I will never get into college. I will never get that scholarship. All of these catastrophizing events can happen with yourself in the driver's seat, or it can be this grandiose, inflated esteem, which is always fake, where it is, I am so much better than everyone else. I am so much better than them because of this, A, B, and C. So this comparison is really a dangerous place to be for our children and ourselves. And if we can, again, shine that light on there, unravel this and find out what's going on, then we can start to deal with it. This can be particularly dangerous when there is comparison between siblings, or what often happens too is when there's comparison between the parent's teenage years and what the teenager is, the teen or tween is going through right now, right? The whole quote unquote, when I was your age, so those can be particularly demeaning and harsh because they are inside of the home. So again, let's put a light on them, know where comparison is coming from, not be afraid to have the conversation about it, and then we can start to unravel it and get to the root. So that's comparison. It's always going to be there. So be aware of comparison in your arena. So let's talk about shame. And shame is the defining identity of I am. Anything that comes after I am, you can put that is not shining a positive light on yourself. That is going to be in the shame category. Anything that you could say I am that you're not proud of, you wouldn't stand in front of the arena and shout necessarily, then with pride, good pride, not demeaning pride, but good pride, then that goes into the shame category. And when we start to get into the I am statements, then we're catastrophizing again, right? These are all close cousins, comparison, shame, and identity. They're like the three musketeers that like to hang out. And they're like, ooh, you didn't get him this time. I'm going to try and get him this time, right? Oh, okay. Let's try this time. And they strategize, right? These three seats, shame, comparison, and scarcity. So when you're down there in the arena and you have these feelings and thoughts of, I am never going to get into college. I am never enough. I am never going to get the attention of this person that I'm interested in. I am never going to get this scholarship, right? All of those things, those are identifying markers. And what it does is it puts you in a box. And when it puts you in a box, that is just an acceptance of the way that it is box. There is no getting out of there. There's no work to be done in order to undefine something, right? So that's why it can be so dangerous. If you say, I am not smart, then that's just what it is, right? And you get into this, it is what it is type of mentality, which is one of my husband's like least favorite sayings ever, which I can see why, because you are then just defining it and you are saying it is what it is. Therefore, I will not work on it. Let's move on to something else and just accept this character about myself. And it's not even true. It's not even true. Shame is not true. Okay. They are the lies that we are telling ourselves about who we are. So when the saying it is what it is, it goes with some things. I don't want to throw it under the bus because there are some things that just are what they are. Like the car was in an accident. Yes, absolutely. That is definitively true. Right. But my daughter is depressed and it made me upset, right? We don't have to say our daughter is depressed and it just is what it is and we're going to live with it. No, right? Shame blocks us from action toward the things that are actionable. Okay. So material things can be defined. It is what it is, but feelings and lives cannot. Feelings and lives, emotions, actions, those are actionable and we can always change them. If we're still here, we can change them. Okay. So then there is scarcity. The I will never be enough, so why try? I will never be able to talk to them in their room, so why try? I see this with parents sometimes, when I'm talking to them about having those intentional conversations, and they're like, my kid will never let me in my room, so I'm not even going to try. I already know what they're going to say. That's that scarcity mindset, right? I will never be able to. So that is the other seat, you guys. Again, shining a light on there and being receptive to the effects that these three seats have, right? And when we can do that, then when we're down in the arena, we could say, I see you. I see you. I know that I am enough. I know that there is enough of whatever it is that you need out there. I know that I am one unique person and there aren't so many other people that have come before me that are just like me. I'm not a dime a dozen. I am a unique person for a unique purpose, right? That is where scarcity can really, really get you when it just says, what does it matter? Don't do anything. Everybody else has already tried that and it doesn't work. Or other people have tried that and it has, and they're doing great. So why would you come in and try? Right. And so your child really needs you as the parent, as the family architect that is planning, designing, and building the beginning of their life to help them see these three gremlins, as Brene calls them, that are always in these seats: comparison, shame, and scarcity. So, comparison, I'm not as good as. Shame, I am fill in the blank. Scarcity, never enough blank, right? So all three of these breed isolation. And as we know, if you've ever done any sort of biology lab ever, isolation is where things grow. They breed and they grow in the darkness of that isolation, like a petri dish, right? So let's put a light on these things, put a light on them. If you don't want to talk about something right away because you don't have the words, that's absolutely fine, right? If you're trying to figure out where is this scarcity, shame, and comparison happening, and you're feeling some things and you're questioning some things and you're being curious about things, but you don't necessarily have the words yet, that is okay. Take some time, but definitely come back. And this reminds me, so not too long ago, there was this event that was happening really early in the morning. I'm talking like, I think it started at 6:15 a.m. and it was on a Sunday. It was really early in the morning and I wanted to go to it. But I wasn't going to make anyone else in my house go to it because it's early. It's a weekend. And so I got up and my husband did come with me and we went and I think it was like a day later, it might've been a day or two later, I just noticed he was acting a little off. And I was like, so, are you okay? What's going on? He's like, I just, I just don't have the words right now. And I was like, okay, well, be sure you come back to me when you do. And another couple of days passed and we were sitting there eating lunch and he seemed, better. And I said, so the other day when you said you didn't have the words, do you have the words now? And he's like, well, I thought about it and I'm okay. And I was like, well, what was it, And so what happened is these gremlins were speaking to him in his arena and they were telling him, you know what? She didn't invite you and didn't want you to come on Sunday morning. She wanted to be by herself. And so she didn't even invite you and didn't want you there. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, no, that is not true at all. I'm so sorry you thought that, right? That what his truth was, I didn't even want them there. And my truth was, it would be selfish of me to ask him to come to this and sacrifice his weekend morning because we're so busy during the week. I don't want him to sacrifice, resting and sleeping in on a weekend. And so I'm not even going to selfishly ask him to come so he feels like there's an obligation to come. So my place was, I love him so much. I don't want to bother him and give him an obligation to come. And his place was, she is, pulling away. She doesn't want me to come. So she didn't even ask. And see where that can happen. These are the gremlins that are in our arenas. And I see this with our kids all the time. But that's just an example that happened, recently with us. But unless we brought that into the light, he never would have known what the truth was. And he just would have been living with this acceptance of it is what it is. Okay. So that is a great example of how we need to bring it into the light, unravel it, get the truth, and then move on. Right. So if we can expect these seats to be there, make room for them, invite them in, and so they aren't pushing their way in. And when they're pushing their way in, they're going to knock something else good out of the way. I have 2 rescue dogs, and every single time I let them outside, one of them, she can be behind, or the boy, he could be behind our girl dog. But as soon as you crack the door, I don't know, that numbskull, he just plows through and like knocks everybody out of the way, including himself. He's knocking himself in the head so he can get outside first. And that is what I see with these three seats of scarcity, shame, and comparison, pushing their way into your arena and knocking some good stuff out of the way because of it. So invite them in, shine the light, put the spotlights on them. Be sure you always know where they are and what they are up to, and then they will never be able to surprise you, right? The more we can expect, the easier it will be for us. And it reminds me of, what is it? Hunger Games, right? Moves and counter moves. Okay, you guys, I hope that you got so much out of this today, and you can be more aware of these three gremlins in your arena as you're going throughout the day, and teach your kids to be more aware of them as well. I will be back next week with another episode, and remember to keep teaching, keep laughing, and keep loving. And above all, remember to keep showing up with intention during this 6570 parenthood childhood experience, because they need you. All right, everyone, I will talk to you soon.